There we go. Yeah, so I wanted to talk for a few minutes this morning, not so more broadly about the practice rather than so specifically, which we often do. So two little subtitles. When things go wrong is one bit, and the fruits of practice is another bit. So when things go wrong can be quite small. This morning, for example, my alarm didn't go off. I set it. I obviously didn't set it correctly, but so I got up about 14 minutes ago. So things have not gone completely according to plan this morning. I also had a little experience of this yesterday. I had a lovely weekend in Manchester, in the UK, and lovely to see some of you here this morning. And yeah, I got to the train station to go home. Delay. My train had been cancelled. I had an hour to wait anyway, and then my train was cancelled. So I went and got myself a coffee. And then I missed the announcement for the cancellation of the next train, and also the telling me to get on a different train, which I'd previously been told I couldn't go on because I didn't have the right ticket. So various things happened, as they do. And eventually I got home. And at a certain point I had a bit of message contact with my partner, with Vajradevi, and he said, "Oh, you sound quite equanimous with this all." And I wrote back saying, "Yeah, I'm actually in very good humor." And you know, I knew I was tired. I knew it had been the weekends asked quite a lot. But it felt like I was enjoying the fruits of practice, the good humor, a certain sort of flexibility of mind, that, okay, I really didn't know when I would get home. And yeah, I was aware of not having much time before I go away again on Wednesday morning. But in a way, the mind naturally didn't pick up that story of I'm so tired and I've got so much to do before I hit the tracks again on Wednesday morning. It felt like it wasn't necessary to pick up that burden for the mind to carry around with it quite naturally. So I just enjoyed the fruits of practice, and that allowed me to enjoy the train ride. It was an absolutely beautiful evening. So the skies whizzing past when I eventually got on the train were completely blue, and the new green growth of late spring. So I think our responses in those times can either reveal our agenda, if you like, for what should happen and why isn't it happening, and fight against that in exactly the same way that we do in meditation when something arises that is a bit unpleasant or is unwanted, and the mind can react against it. Or what can be revealed are these moments where we've released a hold, if you like, of what ought to be happening, and we roll with what is actually happening. So there's a lack of expectation in the mind. And I was trying to think who it was. I think it's possibly Larry Rosenberg, who has he has a long quote, but in the middle of it or towards the end of it, he says, expectations equal suffering. When we have an idea about what should be happening in the mind, that contributes to suffering when things go a different way. It's not the wrong way, it's a different way. So I think with mindfulness, we are training in this perspective that allows whatever is happening for us to be okay with that. Wherever I am is okay. And in this moment, actually, usually everything is, even if not exactly okay, it's manageable. And sometimes, as it was for me on this train journey, it's delightful. Why rail against it when actually in the moment it's delightful? There really wasn't much difference between the delight of sitting on my sofa at home, being able to tune in with my partner, or actually just opening to this experience. Yeah. So this is part of, to frame it within the aspect of right attitude of the practice. This is within right attitude. When there's a lack of demand on the moment, a lack of expectation, and a lack of trying to control things that by their nature are uncontrollable. I have no influence on when the trains run, and getting a bit cross about it or trying to find out why they're not running makes absolutely no difference, really. Yeah. So maybe the last thing to say is that it's really helpful in practice to notice those fruits, to not just notice the times when it's a little bit tricky or there's a bit of struggle or resistance in the mind, but notice what it feels like when the mind really is able to sort of flow in the spirit of the practice, and recognize that that's what's happening. Recognize those qualities in the mind at the time, that openness of mind, that trust in the moment, trust that being just with what's happening in the moment is enough. And really open to the quality of any quality of delight, or the equanimity, the good humor, those sorts of things, and many others that can be arising. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say. I composed this on the train, so I haven't had a lot of time to think about it any further. But we'll take that flavor into the practice. So if you